Hi everyone, my name is Rick, and I'm a very new mod author to the Nexus Mods site. So just for a quick introduction, this is my first mod, formerly known as Melee Override, and now known as Quick Attack. So I'm just starting out the game right now, and we're just going to get into it, and I'm going to do a breakdown of all the settings once everything's relevant. Okay, so I have a quick starting mod called Start Me Up, so we don't have to live through all this. And it'll just take a second to load here. Okay, so now we're in the post-war world, it's called, where we equip our first weapon.
Cryogenic array. All residents must vacate immediately.
So while I'm filling out all these special attributes and opening the door, I'll just kind of talk about what this mod does. So basically, you get to set a weapon of your choice that you have in your inventory that you use to either melee, regular attack, single fire, or automatic fire, which overrides kind of like your normal melee. Except you could set this to any key that you'd like. Hence, it's a quick switch to that weapon, attack, and switch back to your original weapon. Alright, so I'm just going to fill out these attributes here. Let's just go 4 across the board. Okay. And now open the terminal. Or main door, rather. Okay, so one thing to note is technically we don't have a weapon now, but we have our bare hands. Okay, and I'm just going to open up the settings here. So you need Fallout 4 script extender, obviously, and also mod configuration menu. So once you have all that installed, you'll see this, obviously. And Quick Attack is in here. So this is the main page. Basically, it just tells you to click on these pages on the side here. Unfortunately, I'm not very savvy with Flash, so I don't know how to load a ActionScript 3 object into here, but that may come later. Alright, so now for the main settings. By default, the attack weapon, which is the weapon that we use to quick attack, and which we must have in our inventory, is set to none. And when it's set to none, if you press the quick attack key that you have set down here, you will just do a normal melee with it. And that's because you have it set to none. Okay. So I just noticed a bit of a bug. It did not add the 2 other default options into here, which I'm going to add back in here. Okay, so when you use this mod, you'll have these 2 items in here first. And these are always in there. So I'm going to select fists, and I'm going to back out. And because we have the same weapon out as we designated as our quick attack, it's just going to turn into a melee key. So I'm going to press the T key, which I had set. And it did a melee. Now the timing is a little bit off because I didn't customize it to the fists. But we'll just go through more of the main settings now. So the next main setting is adding a weapon to the attack weapons array. So right now, technically, we don't have a weapon. We just have our bare hands, and according to the game, that's not really a weapon that you can detect. So I'm going to pick up this security baton. Okay, so now we have our first weapon. If we would like to use this as a quick attack weapon, then all we have to do is add equipped weapon to attack weapons array in the main settings. And it'll tell you that the equipped weapon successfully added to attack weapons array. Now, if you try to add another security baton or something like a custom modded security baton, it'll show you this message. Equipped weapon is ineligible for adding to the attack weapons array as it shares the same form ID as baton. And the reason why you can't do this is because when you have two unique weapons inside of a container, the way that Bethesda set up Fallout 4, you cannot distinguish between them. So this is an engine level limitation, and I can't really do anything about that, unfortunately. So, but now we have baton in there. Okay. So now, like I said before, because we have the baton out, and that's the same weapon that we designated for a quick attack, it's just going to do a melee. And that's it. Okay. Now, if you want to use your fists as a melee weapon, you can finally, for the first time ever, do that. So let's set it to fists. Now this is a different weapon than our baton. So now it should do a quick attack. And again, the timing isn't quite right. But as you see, we quickly switched to our fists, meleeed with it, and then came back to our original weapon. Now, if you would like to remove a weapon from the attack weapons array, you may do so. Note that you cannot remove none, fists, or power armor fists. It will show this. Oops, sorry, I didn't change the option, so it didn't show me anything. So it says, none fists nor power armor fists can be removed because they cannot be added back manually. And technically this is the case. If you do try to do this, it'll just show like a blank option. Okay. So, but let's say we want to remove baton now. So if I have baton selected and I remove it from here, it'll actually change it here as well, so you don't have this weird bug. Okay, so let's remove baton. And see it automatically switch to power armor fists, which we cannot do without power armor being equipped. So it says weapon successfully removed from attack weapons array. Okay, great. Now, we move on to attack style. And before I show you what that's about, I am going to acquire a different weapon.
Biogenic array.
Instead of going through this level, I'm just going to add it via console. Oh, I only added one. That's nice. Okay, now I have 100 with me. Okay, and then I need to manually equip it because we do not have the Pip-Boy yet. And I'll do 4822. Okay, so now we have a 10mm pistol. So let's add it to the attack weapons array. And again, you can't add it a second time. And it tells you which option is the problem. So now we have the 10mm as our attack weapon. Okay. So if we switch back to the baton and we try to initiate a quick attack, then we will melee with the pistol. Now, that's not very fun, because normally you would just have the pistol out anyway and melee with that. But what's different about quick attack is you can select the attack style. Melee is applicable to all weapons. You can take out any melee weapon or any gun and melee with it. Attack is a little bit different. Attack works mainly just with melee weapons, but it's a different animation as if you're clicking the mouse instead of pressing the melee button. But it's not applicable with weapons, such as guns, because their attack is kind of replaced by firing. So if you try to use attack with a gun, then it won't really do much of anything. Single fire is just shooting one bullet. This works for both semi-automatic, revolving, or pump action type weapons. It also works with automatic weapons. However, the automatic weapon sound will play. And automatic fire actually works with any semi-automatic or automatic weapon, which I will demonstrate. So we already demonstrated melee. I'll demonstrate what attack looks like, just so that you know. And you see nothing happened, because there is no attack animation for guns. Now we'll go to single fire. Okay. That was interesting. I think we have an automatic pistol, because we added it through the console, so it had random mods on it, which is perfectly fine. And now automatic fire. Okay. So as you see, you quickly take out the 10mm, you shoot with it, and then you switch back. And it's very quick. And one thing to note is that the quick attack weapon, if it uses ammo, it technically automatically reloads itself once you remove it. And I know this breaks realism, but there's unfortunately not much I can do about this. I'm looking into it, but no promises. So let's move on to the time settings. The attack weapon equip time is the amount of time that you give between pressing the key and initiating an attack. So one thing that I forgot is also that the quick attack key just changes the key that you use. You'll just have to take my word for it because you can't see my keyboard. But when I'm pressing the T key, nothing happens. That's the U key. Okay, got that out of the way. Let's change it back to T because, you know what? I like T. Okay. Now, the attack weapon equip time. This dictates how long it takes to take out the weapon, and this is dependent heavily on what weapon you're quick attacking with. So if I set it much too high, I'll show you what happens here. Let's skip a little bit. 2 seconds. It waits a long time before it initiates. But if you set it too low, let's say 0.1 seconds. If you set it too low, that actually registered, and I'm surprised, but that was supposed to be automatic fire, and it's not. So this attack weapon equip time needs to be equal to or longer than the time it takes to equip your attack weapon, and that's heavily dependent on the length of the equip animation. So for the 10mm pistol, 0.75 seconds is perfect. It's just longer than the equip animation. Now, these next 4 settings are dependent on the attack style that you set in the main settings page. We have it set to automatic fire, but each of these settings has its own time because the melee and attack animations for melee weapons are different lengths, so you can set those independently. The single fire and automatic fire can also be set independently. So if you want the melee time to be long enough so that the whole animation plays, you can set it to be longer than the attack time or single fire time or automatic time. Okay, so let's say we want my single fire time to be 0.5 seconds and my automatic fire time to be a whole second. That'll probably empty the entire clip. So let's try it. And there we have it. But let's say we want to do, we want to do a melee instead. But this is 1.5 seconds, so it's different. But it allows the exact amount of time that you need for a melee. You have to set these settings yourself. I will not hold your hand. Now, another interesting feature is the attack weapon failsafe time. If you set the attack weapon equip time too low, let's say 0.5 seconds. Let's change this back to 0.5 seconds. And this is much too short for the 10mm pistol. And so the animation will not play right. The attack weapon failsafe time is like a buffer at which time if the animation has not started in this amount of time after the weapon equip time, then it will automatically switch back to your original weapon. And the reason why this has to be set and it has to be a thing is because if you run out of ammo, then there needs to be some sort of fail-safe, because it'll keep failing the animation, and I have it set on a loop so that it forces it to play, but if you don't have any ammo, it still can't play. So if your fail-safe time is a little bit on the low side, let's say 0.1, and your attack weapon equip time is also too low, I will show you what happens. Nothing happens, because not enough time was allowed for the weapon to equip, and the failsafe time was too short so that it automatically switched back to your original weapon without even a true attempt at its attack animation. If I set this back to 0.5, it now occurs. And this buffer is necessary for people with lower powered systems who, you know, it takes them a little bit longer in terms of actual seconds to take out a gun. Another thing about the failsafe time, if you have the attack weapon equip time too low so that it ends before your weapon ends the equip animation, if you have debugging messaging on, it will tell you that it started a failsafe timer with this amount of time on it. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want quick attack to be entirely seamless, you will want this number to be just longer than the equip animation for your particular weapon. And the way that you can tell that is by setting the failsafe timer to 0. If the quick attack initiates at this time, then you know that the time was enough for the equip animation to happen. In which case, that is correct. But, just in case, I would still have this at around 0.5 or 0.25. Now, the original weapon equip time is basically how long it takes for the script to reset itself. So let's say we do 2 seconds. Okay. 2 seconds after we put our quick attack weapon away, that is when we can start our next quick attack. As you can see, I still can't. Now I can. If you set this too low, nothing wrong will happen. However, you will be able to melee much faster. Or a quick attack, I should say. So there you have that. One last thing on the time page is the original weapon melee time. So if you fail a quick attack, so there are conditions that are not met, say, you know, we have it set to the 10mm pistol, but we don't have one in our inventory, then the quick attack will fail and default to the melee attack of your originally equipped weapon. So you can set how much time that takes. I have this set at 2 seconds, which is perfect for the baton. So I'll show you that now. As you can see. Now, when your AP becomes too low, you will hear that normal VATS or low AP sound. However, it does not flash like normal. I've not quite figured that out yet. As you can hear. Okay. Now, for the advanced settings. If you decide that I really messed up this big long list and you want to go back to normal, you can press Clear Attack Weapons Array. In which case, you'll be reset to none. Fists and Power Armor Fists are still in there, but nothing else. And as you can see, this menu reset itself too. Okay, so now let's say you mess up all of these settings. I don't recommend doing this. Okay, so all of these settings are now messed up. And you want to go back. Reset settings. Now, reset settings will not also clear attack weapons array. So if you just want to reset your settings but keep the weapons that you put into the array already, you can do that. Now, I will come back to alternate start fix and debug messaging. First, I'm going to load the saved game. And I am going to do an alternate start instead of skipping like I did the last time. So first things first, I'm going to turn on debugging. And this is really important because if you have any problems with Quick Attack, you can address them yourself, or you could report it to me and I'll tell you what's wrong. So now debug messaging is enabled. And if you wait a few seconds, you'll see something in the upper left corner. Any second now. Here we go. Not in post-war world, because the script does not activate until you're out of the cryopod. But if you use an alternate start mod, you avoid the cryopod entirely, and that whole script never even registers. That's a problem for the script. So let's just go through this really quickly. Okay, we'll just wait for this. Just a few seconds here. Okay, so now we've totally bypassed that quest that we needed to register the script. So, it's going to still say that we're not in the post-war world. Just wait for it to pop back up again so you can see. Okay, yeah. Okay, not in post-war world, even though we are. So there is an alternate start fix. So now the fix is applied. And now we're able to do a quick attack. So let's do this. Like I said, this will be fixed. Okay, so these are the debug messages. Take note of these if you're having any problems. So we have enough AP, that's what it's telling us. The common conditions are common conditions that you need to meet in order to do a failsafe melee or a quick attack. So this is things like, you have your weapon out, you're not talking to someone, you're not in a menu, things like that. Okay, and it decided that all of the parameters are correct for us to initialize a quick attack. And so we equipped our attack weapon. You don't see it yet because we're in debug messages. And now it tells us that we're not in power armor. And now it does a melee animation request loop. So basically it's just a loop of requesting that animation until it says, oh yes, I've started this animation. Okay, and the original weapon is now equipped. Conflicting forms were added, so this is left over from a previous version of the mod where I was actually removing your originally equipped weapon and then separating the conflicting forms, adding back that original weapon, and then equipping it to ensure that you're equipping the correct weapon. The only problem with this is that that does not save the amount of bullets that you have in your magazine. This is a much more complicated issue, so I'm not going to go into it into really any detail, but just know that these, messages don't really mean anything. And now we're back. So basically that's all for Quick Attack. Please download it if you're interested. If you're really impressed by it, give it an endorsement. And that's basically it. So please enjoy Quick Attack.